Hi everyone, it's Jen from the EarlyON Center, and thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking toddlers because that's one of my most favorite topics to talk about here at the EarlyON Center. If you have a toddler at home, you might be rolling your eyes right now because you're thinking, what is so exciting about the terrible twos? Well, I've been around a long time. I've been at this job close to 2 decades, and I've got 3 kids and went through it myself, and I'm going to tell you right now, toddlers can be terrific if you understand how they think and why they do what they do. And the more we understand how they think and why they do what they do, then the easier it is for us to be able to parent and to work with them as well. So let me give you a little story about toddlers, and sometimes when you run into toddlers, this might happen. And if you come to programs, sometimes this might be the situation that you see. Let's say that we have a little boy that comes to program with his mom, and he's 2 years old, and he walks in the door so proud because he loves coming to the EarlyON Center and takes a lot of ownership and pride in the site that he visits. And let's say that this child goes up to another child and leans in for a hug, and instead of hugging, takes a big chunk right there on the side of the cheek. Now that's called biting, and it's a horrible thing to see, and it's an awful thing to experience as the parent of the child that was bit, and it's just as awful an experience to experience as the parent of the child that is biting. But let me tell you something, biting is completely developmentally appropriate. Socially unacceptable, yes, but completely developmentally appropriate. As a parent myself, I had a child that would often go down that route and use biting as a tool to be able to manage his emotions and express and communicate with other people how he was feeling through his teeth. And I can tell you right now, it is devastating as a parent when you have somebody that does that. One of the first things that I would do as a parent back then would be like, oh my God, my child's gonna grow up to be a psychopath because he bites. But let me tell you something from experience, both professionally and personally, they don't grow up to be psychopaths because they bite. Let me say it again, biting is developmentally appropriate, just not socially acceptable when you're 2 years old. So biting, though it can be normal, it's maybe not necessarily something we want to encourage. Of course we want to encourage it, but it's something that, well, let's normalize it actually. It's something that happens, and sometimes when we don't have the words to express how we're feeling, it comes out with our teeth on somebody's cheek or somebody's arm. And it's an unfortunate thing to happen, but it's also a very normal part of toddlerhood, because toddlers aren't really good at expressing their emotions. And why are toddlers not good at expressing their emotions? I'm glad you asked. Hang on a second. So I have this lovely picture of a brain right here. This is the inside of a person's brain, and you're going to see that inside the inside of your brain is the amygdala, and this is the emotional center of the brain. Now the outer cortex of the brain, this is where, well, and especially the frontal part, this is where a lot of our thinking and reasoning skills happen. Okay, as adults, we should be using these skills all the time, but as toddlers, we haven't developed this part of our brain. I mean, our part of the brain is there, but it isn't necessarily working like we need it to be working. However, the inside of our brain when we're toddlers is working just fine, and it works overtime. That is the emotional core of the brain. This is where you see happy and sad and angry. This is where all of those things live inside. And if you've ever spent a day with a toddler, you'll see those 3 emotions being flip-flopped over and over throughout the entire day. That's because their emotional center of the brain, that's pretty much where they live. Now they're learning how to use their cortex slowly, and they're learning how to use their cortex, talk to their middle brain to calm themselves down, but that's a big skill. And really, even some adults don't have that skill developed yet, right? No, toddlers are pretty much emotional little beings. So when you see them freaking out for no reason, it's because they're using their emotional brain to be able to work through the problem or situation that's happening. So if they don't get the green cup like they wanted to, and they totally have a meltdown, it's because their emotional brain has taken over, and that cortex of their brain isn't saying, you know what, it's okay if we have the blue cup today, everything's gonna be fine, we can have the green cup tomorrow. That part of the brain isn't working yet. The only part of the brain that's really essentially working is the inside of the brain, and when it doesn't get what it wants, it totally freaks out, and that's just kind of what toddlers do. The more we understand about toddlers, the easier it is to be able to parent them and to be able to work with them. And there's a lot of secrets that we know. So being in the profession myself, I was really lucky because I've got all this like education and all this wonderful reading behind me, so that I really know and truly understand the development of a toddler. So when they react in ways that that might surprise me, I don't get upset. I kind of go, oh, you're acting like that because you're a toddler. I totally get it. And that must be such a frustrating stage in life, to not have the communication skills to tell me how you're feeling, or to not even understand how you're feeling. That must be so frustrating. I completely get it. See, that's a different reaction than if I were to get mad at them for freaking out because they didn't get the green cup when they wanted to. But I know and I understand toddlers really well. I've worked with them for a long time. I've worked with biters and non-biters. I've worked with kids that like to use their toy truck to clock somebody beside them. And I've worked with kids that just like to sit there and quietly watch what's going on. And toddlers are toddlers, and the more we understand, the more we accept those behaviors as normal, which it is,
wait.
and the more we can get it.
I don't know what happened. No, we're good. Keep going.
We're still going. This is our first time doing Facebook Live, and I really look forward to be able to share more times that we can share together, and more topics. If you have any ideas of things that you want us to talk about or stories that you want to hear, just plug them in down here and write a comment, and we'll be able to make sure that the next time we come back, we'll share some more stories and some more insights about children and their development. All right? Take care. Have a wonderful day, a beautiful weekend, and have fun with your toddler.
Get it to stop.
And stop. And it's still going, but now we're done.
I'm pressing finish, but I don't know how to make it stop.
Does that help?
What if I just exit out?
Yeah.